when I was in conversation with TDI Tuning and they said we're doing a BMW M performance day, they're all coming down, we're going to the dynos, we're showing customers, some customers never had them before.
Genuinely the first time I had a chance to really try it, and that is something else.
Others have had them, they've already had the kit, but they don't know what their true power figure is and they're going to find out. Come along for the day, not sponsored, you don't have to like anything, you don't have to promote anything, there's no commission on sales, just come along for the day, see what it's all about and go out for a drive in this M3 with a little bit of tuning added. We're in the same place, same road, 25 miles an hour, let's go. Thought, I want to go see what it's all about. So what are we actually covering? First, a quick explanation of how the TDI tuning boxes actually work. Then, stock versus tuned figures and dyno readouts. We then get the 3,000-ish mile review of the M8 and the M2, which I get to go out as a passenger in. Then we're joining Chris for his first ever drive with the new kit installed. Finally, I review the M3 competition with and without the tuning kit. So before we hop into the M8, how do these TDI tuning specific boxes actually work? Well, engines are usually producing 20 to 40% less power than they're actually capable of in standard form. So almost all manufacturers develop one engine and then electronically limit it to comply with worldwide regulations, fuel grades, climate, etc. So tuning boxes take live data from various engine sensors and then they deliver optimized signals to the ECU, rather than completely overwriting and sometimes locking the ECU to a new remap. TDI Tuning carefully custom program theirs to each engine, in contrast to those frightening, cheap and nasty kits that we've all seen on eBay. Just as with remapping, there's an important difference between dodgy bloke in car park remaps and experienced tuning specialists with dynos. Right, let's get on with it. Starting with the M4 competition, which basically is the same as the M3 comp in terms of the engine and the power upgrades. 523 brake stock, about nearly 700 Newton meters of torque stock, with no internals changed and still with power left over on the table, and they're reserving it back and leaving it some leeway. We're at 633 brake and basically 850 Newton meters of torque. Absolutely insane. Now, Chris, the owner of this, he hasn't driven this car with the new tune yet, so it's gonna be quite fun to see his reaction. So then we get to the M8 competition, and actually what's quite a treat about these is these are incredibly rare to see. So to have been out in this today with all of its extra horsepower has been an absolute privilege. 612 standard, I wouldn't say that you need more, but hearing Ahmed explain why and how this car drives since, he has convinced me, I have to say. We're now 70 horsepower more, 800 Newton meters of torque stock, just over 810, and now we're at 950, which is, I'll tell you, mad. Now, I'm not actually going to tell you about the M2. I'm going to do that later because that to me has been the greatest power increase and is even more impressive. But let's just say we're starting with 460 and this has blown me away. I mean, obviously that was absurdly quick, but there's something extra visceral and even more exciting about this one. But the big main event of the video, which we're going to get to shortly, is driving this M3. And actually the power figures I just mentioned for the M4 comp, this M3 comp has exactly the same. So we know it's got 627 brake horsepower standard. You've been living with this tuning kit for a little while.
I've done about 3,000 miles since I have had it tuned, yes.
And so I would have thought that there's not much need for a tuning box on an M car pushing 600 brake. I wouldn't have thought that's what it needs. But you say you've always put tuning boxes in your cars.
You're absolutely right, because it's just I am mad in my head. No, to be honest with you, it's just they are kings on the road kind of thing, you know. It just makes you feel better, and the car transforms. Even you'll be surprised the difference in little dynamics before and after the tuning. That's where you feel that even a very powerful car has a lot more potential to be more powerful. That's what makes it more lively for me, you know, just the concept of it. And plus the fact that you do get a better fuel economy, more power, better fuel economy, And then in these cars, you do need battery economy. So, so even if I'm getting a mile per gallon extra, I mean, it's comforting for me. So,
So if a near 700 brake horsepower car at 2 tons can get to 60 in now 2.8, how's an M2 weighing 300 kilos less, with comparatively the wheelbase of a skateboard, going to feel? So I want to know what made you... So how much horsepower has this got standard again?
460 standard.
460.
Yeah.
So you drove it standard with no tuning kit on it?
Nothing.
What was it that made you decide, I'm going to put a tuning box on?
I've run TDI Tuning Box on another car.
Oh, have you?
I've mapped other cars as well.
Oh.
I'm a bit of a car nut. I've got a lot of cars, and they work. And as soon as I got it, I thought, turbocharged car, it's crying out for a tuning box. So, and it's made such a massive, massive difference. Like, really phenomenal. I mean, do you know what the power number was?
I wanted to hear it from you because the guy said it to me, was like, let me double check on that. So what was your new figure?
595 with 460. I mean, it's ridiculous. From a tuning box that you plug in, and then if you don't want it, you just unplug it. It's just like, what's not to like?
So you've gone from 460 to nearly 600, basically.
Yep. Manual rear drive car, 2-wheel drive.
That is mental.
Yeah.
How? So my instinct, without having driven it, honestly, would be it's probably going to be a bit too savage, or it might be a bit kind of too aggressive. How is it, and what are your thoughts?
It's without giving a silly answer. It's the same, but everything's turned up that bit more.
Right.
So it's not everything coming in all at one big lump of 4,000 RPM. It's
Okay.
BMW's natural mapping is very incremental. It's very, very good. It's very linear.
Yeah.
And this has just done the same, but moved everything on the graph up.
Interesting.
So you're not just
Okay.
getting all that extra power at one bit. The way they've mapped it, the way they've programmed the box is as much focused on torque as it is brake horsepower.
Gotcha.
Because otherwise you can just chase brake horsepower and end up with this spiky, nasty car,
Yes.
which is really important in a rear-wheel drive manual. You get away with it in a four-wheel drive M3 or M4, but you won't get away with it on a rear-wheel drive two-wheel drive car.
We are at 20 miles an hour a second.
Yeah.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
So you wait for it to get on boost. It's just struggling to put the power down. It literally just starts the wheels up.
Jesus Christ. I have to say, in terms of feeling and things that are coming through, that felt to me quicker than the M8. And I imagine that there could be some of because this car I think is a bit more raw.
Yes.
And
The seams as well make a difference. You get a bit more movement, a bit more of a wiggle up.
So after experiencing the bookends of the M range, I have to admit, I wasn't that excited for the M4. I kind of just thought it was going to sit in the middle and be neither here nor there. But thankfully, I was in for quite a surprise. So is this your first tuning box, remappy kind of
Experience?
thing? Yeah.
No, I've had tuning boxes from TDI before. Oh, Christ. Jesus Christ.
How does that compare to what you've used?
Oh, that's pretty brutal, that is. Christ.
So
Jesus. That's genuinely the first time I've had a chance to really try it, and that is something else.
So whereabouts, like, how do you explain where the power is in the band? Is it just more than usual? Is it earlier than usual? What's the difference?
Well, we just dropped that down to third, and given that was, 30 odd miles an hour we were taking off from, that just literally leapt up, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to drive that.
Jesus Christ, that's mental. So, as I said, I've had tuning boxes, remaps. I've done just about a little bit of everything. I firmly believe that the tuning boxes have their place in the order of things, as it were. It's never going to be quite as good as a full-on remap, but to be able to get quality power down like that from a tuning box at the price that Steve offers them, not quite sure why you would need to go quicker than that.
So this is the bit I've been most excited for. And yes, obviously for driving a car myself, but genuinely having experienced all of the other cars as a passenger, it was the M4 competition that seemed the most savage and felt like, I think that's the sweet spot. Probably less fidgety than the M2, not quite as heavy and as large as the M8. And there was just, honestly, savage is the best word for it. So now I'm in the M3 competition. And to do things fairly, and actually, because I've never driven an M3 at all. In fact, have I driven an M3? No, I don't think I have. This is completely stock now. So I'm going to get used to this, and I've been driving this around a little bit pre-hitting record. So initial impressions of the car before we do that. I have to say, I've been a little bit kind of one of these people that goes, oh, old cars used to be smaller, everything's got too big, everything's got too bloated. And I think in an ideal world, things would be a little bit smaller, wouldn't they? But I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised that the footprint of this M3 is nowhere near as big as I thought it was going to be. It does feel confidence inspiring, and you can see all four corners of the car quite easily. You feel like you know how to place yourself on the road. This will be the moment that I take down a cyclist and stuff it into a hedge. But back to how the car is actually driving. This is the X-Drive, so we've got four-wheel drive on this one. It's raining, so I haven't yet gone completely apeshit and just smashed my foot into the floor. But when I get a right moment, I'm going to get my first impressions of hoofing this car as God made her. But I had some really good chats with Steve from TDI Tuning, who sat with me here, and we were talking about what manufacturers often leave on the table. And I was expecting maybe, as I said, before coming here, I would have thought you'd get an extra 80 horsepower out of it. A bit like you kind of did with the M8, a very highly strung, highly tuned engine anyway. Not highly strung, but it's already got a very high output. Another 70 horsepower is about what I would expect the best you could really do out of these things. But the fact that if you really want to, ill-advisedly, in terms of how it would drive, you can get 650 brake horsepower out of this 503 brake horsepower engine. What is there even to say about that? That is crazy. Now, this is the best bit. We're going to now, in regular drive, just nothing clever, we're just going to give this a little bit of encouragement from 25. Okay, so here we go. $59. So that is quick. Officially 3.5 seconds to 60. So I would say probably quick enough. But earlier I put my foot down, not quite all the way, and Steve was like, that's nothing. You haven't seen anything yet. Now what I'd like to do is get this new map on. So Steve, would you like to do the honours? And whilst he's doing that, he's going to put it on the maximum power setting, because on this tuning box you've got a little scale of 1 to 7. Whatever your car is, you've got a little scale of whereabouts, kind of how much you want to apply your little tune, or quite large tune in this instance. So he's going to put it in at the top end, obviously. So for reference, we had things in dynamic in the first place. So once I started stepping things up, the car kind of began to adapt and put things into a more aggressive driving mode for me. But now we are in the TDI tuning phase. We're at number 7 of 7. And reassuringly, it's not driving aggressively and twitchily and anything else so far. It still feels smooth and relaxed. And yet I can just feel that as soon as you touch the accelerator, first impressions are you can feel that extra pull already. So currently we're at 630 633?
633.
633 brake horsepower. So 850 newton meters of torque, 625 pounds-feet of torque. That's so silly. Right, okay. So now we're in the same place, same road, 25 miles an hour. Let's go. Okay, all right. That is a profound difference. That is a profound difference. My God. There's something, it's so much more aggressive about how it puts its power down when you decide to be stupid and when you decide to be silly. It just kept pulling and pulling and pulling. I can't wait to do that again, to be honest. That is great. 60. That is that is so impressive. Oh, that is so. Oh, that's
Would you like to
great.
have a go at launch?
Yes. Okay. How do we do launch? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna do a launch.
Just give it a go. It's fine. Just hold on to it.
So you've measured this at 3.29 to 60 in the wet.
In the wet.
In the wet.
In the wet.
Let's put that back to there. That is bonkers. So long-term viewers of the channel, you will know that I normally do a very, very, very thorough review of a car. And we've gone through the interior and the quirks and features and all that jazz. And I will have done lots and lots and lots of B-roll for the car to really take you through it. So this isn't quite what I'd call my full review of an M3. It's been one of those days in winter where you're desperately trying to film so many different things, so many different cars on the dyno, so many different cars going out for passenger rides and everything else. And we are at the mercy of time and light and the rain. So what I'm going to suggest I do is come back and do a full review of this car another time with Steve and the guys. It'd be good to see them and see what perhaps another time they've got an event on, or another company coming down for a tuning day. But my overall thoughts, my early thoughts of this car are, I'm massively impressed. The ride comfort is actually one of those things that I think shocked me the most. Maybe not as much as me just hoofing it just then, let's be honest, but I just always picture these things with the weight they carry as well. What, 1,800 kilos for this probably? Is it somewhere around that, 1,750 or something? That kind of ballpark. And a car that has to be firm and be able to take its weight and throw it around in the bends, you just think it's going to be a bit punishing. And at no point of driving this car have I been reminded in a negative way that I'm in an M car. If I were an owner myself of an M4, M3, M2, I mean, quite frankly, having experienced them today and the way, and seen particularly Chris's reaction, someone who's lived with that M4, and we were just talking, as you may have seen earlier, and he just started putting his foot down. Just seeing that difference, it is something I undoubtedly would do. And I know there are going to be people there that think, okay, you've been invited along for a day, you're probably going to want to say that. But I did ask people, have there honestly been any downsides? Is there anything that hasn't been as good, or you have any kind of compromise? And everyone's been really, really happy. And I think, Ahmed's had bad remap stories, the ones where he's still gone somewhere semi-reputable, but they've botched it and he's had to send the ECU back and muck around with things. And other people said, yeah, I paid for a remap, but it cost me thousands to get it done properly on a previous car. And that margin of it being, let's say, better than a tuning box, the margin is so small that the value element to them hasn't been worth it. And I think seeing what I've seen today and what you get out of these cars, out of these tuning kits, it is so, so impressive. The value for money is so impressive that even if someone out there could get an extra 5% anywhere, I don't think I would see that value. But we're not here really to argue are burgers best or hot dogs best, because it's a bit of a different discussion. I wanted to see for myself, A, these ridiculous power gains. B, I wanted to see cars on the dyno and get a little understanding of what it's all been about. And C, actually getting to drive one and see how different it feels myself. So if this is your first time watching Petrol Poodle, it's been a a brand new format to me, and it's been amazing fun, but I'd love for you to check out some of the other reviews as well. So please do go check those out, give us a like and subscribe. I just want to say huge thanks to them as well, really, because there are so many channels out there that are a lot larger than I am who could have gone straight to them, and it's a real honour at a channel of my size to be invited to a day like this. So yeah, thanks very much. It's so fucking quick. I have said many times, you do not need to have very, very fast cars to have fun, and you can't put it down on the British roads most of the time. But do you know what? It is hard to deny that it makes you laugh, it makes you smile, and it's bloody exciting when you're in a car that's pushing 630 brake horsepower through 4 wheels. They're numbers that you just never imagined as a kid. You know, I was thrilled with Subaru Imprezas doing 300, 350 brake, and Ferraris having 400, and they just seemed like numbers that never needed to be higher. And I can't believe I'm driving a German saloon car that has a boot and 5 seats, or 4 seats, or hopefully this one's got 5. And we're just casually going along with 630 horsepower. It's a pinch yourself moment, really, sometimes.